are going to be having a side event by UNOOSA here in the room. So I would encourage all of you interested in learning more about COPUOS and the work of UNOOSA and the intersections between Geneva and Vienna to stay on for that side event, which will go on during the lunchtime. Thank you very much.
Satellite applications are often the only communications that work when disasters strike, but of course imagery as well. We can compare before with after. We can see where have bridges collapsed, where can first responders not go, where should they go, and so on. We have grown up in an environment where we have a GP maybe who knows us since many, many years and who can track when we're ill, when we're okay, what's happening to us. These are communities who never have that, who may live for years with diseases that go undiagnosed. But here you have a ship which is connected via satellite, where diagnoses are performed, where data is transmitted back to capitals, where remote surgery is enabled thanks to experts who are based in capitals and so on. The smaller image is in Benin, where you have pregnant mothers receiving health care, and what looks like a tablet on a chair is in fact a satellite dish connected back to enable remote diagnoses. Here you can see a school in Kenya where children are playing on a content game called Maths Whiz, and it was measured that by enabling 1 hour of access to this game per week per child, over 1 year the learning age improved by 18 months. So my kids, if I only gave them access to internet for an hour a week, there would be anarchy in the home. But here in remote schools, it's transformational, you know. Agriculture, deforestation, we can see from space when deforestation is happening, when reforestation is happening. We can monitor illegal deforestation, we can act on it, we can enforce it and prevent it. We can enable precision farming and information for rural farmers to have on crops, whether it's worth selling or not. All of this thanks to SATCOMs and Earth observation. Disasters, of course, when disaster strikes, infrastructure on land is often destroyed. Satellite communications enables communications not only for first responders and governments to coordinate their work, but also for people to call their loved ones and say, I'm alive, I'm here, you know? Why and how is the UN involved in all of this? Well, I'm going to start with a short video about UNOOSA.
Houston Discovery, roll program.
Space. It's part of our everyday lives. Space connects us, guides us, informs us, protects us. We cannot keep up with the challenges of today or harness the opportunities that tomorrow brings without space solutions. But today, the rapid growth of space activities is creating new challenges.
3, 2, 1.
As we enter a new space age, the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs stands at the forefront of international cooperation in the peaceful uses of space. It is critical that nations bridge divides to ensure a safe and sustainable space environment, protecting it for future generations. So we must come together as one world and act now to allow us to continue to innovate, scale solutions, and explore the cosmos, and develop new space governance. When countries work together through the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, we can reach global consensus and pave the way for a brighter future. Restoring our planet, promoting sustainable development, and delivering results for the benefit of all.
So UNOOSA was established first and foremost in 1957 as a tiny expert unit to support COPUOS member states, to support the committee. This is a snapshot of the committee in 2025. It's grown from 15 member states at its inception, now to 106, and increasing all the time. We have 6 new applications already for next year and many more to come. COPUOS has been transformational in the field of space governance. It is the birthplace of all of the 5 treaties that underpin today's space economy as we know it, and it has evolved over the times. We don't live in an era where binding treaties can easily be negotiated anymore. However, we've shifted to a world where principles, guidelines, and resolutions play an increasingly important role. And on this slide, you have a snapshot of the different guidelines and principles and resolutions that have been adopted. Snapshot of the key topics that COPUOS is working on, all the way from the LTS guidelines and lunar activities to space and water, disaster management, access to space for all, space and global health, dark and quiet skies, the astronomer question, and many other topics. We have a working group on the legal aspects of space resources activities, and this has got a 5-year work plan, and they've already agreed on what are the topics to be worked on during the next 5 years. The first set of draft principles has just been published, and member states are now negotiating them. We have an action team on lunar activities, which is all about coordination, interoperability, and in this year the action team has agreed on its work plan, and it's agreed on the top level areas that they're going to work on. They're starting to talk about information sharing. Of course, nobody wants to land or go to the same place as somebody else is going, so we have to share this information at UN level. An expert group is the latest development on space situational awareness. This will involve industry, and it's the first step towards global space traffic coordination. In addition, beyond coordination, we also have the topic of management, space traffic management. And UNOOSA has been asked to collect information from different member states on what regulations and policies are in place to see how can we at UN leverage them to move forward together. I mentioned earlier today a potential Unispace 4 conference taking place in 2027. Member states are going to take a decision on this, and these are once in every 25-year space summit events. The last one, the most significant one, is probably Unispace 3. It gave birth to the Space Generation Advisory Council, which is the voice of the youth in space governance. It is when our UN SPIDER program was born, Space-Based Information for Disaster and Emergency Response. It is when the International Committee on Global Navigation Satellite Systems was born, which is now discussing a lunar time zone, and many other important initiatives. So our hope is that with a Unispace 4 in 2027, the anniversary of the Outer Space Treaty, decisions will be taken that underpin the next 60 years of space governance, just like we look back at the Outer Space Treaty as the bedrock of the last 60 years of space governance. We maintain the register of all objects that have been launched into outer space. It's a treaty obligation executed by UNOOSA on behalf of the Secretary General. At May 2025, we've had 20,400 objects that have been launched into space, and of those, 91.5% have been registered under the treaty obligation. This is really, really important. 6 months ago, that number was 88%. We have been working very, very proactively to encourage countries to register their objects. And by being proactive, we are seeing the concrete results. We have the ICG, the International Committee on GNSS that I mentioned earlier. This convenes the experts of the major satellite navigation systems around the world. And despite satellite navigation being your ultimate dual-use technology, this committee continues to deliver, it continues to work. They're working on interoperability along the principle that we are better together we can be more than the sum of our individual parts. There are enhanced user services that are to be had if we work together on interoperability and if we work on the compatibility of our systems without doing harm to each individual one. We also convene member states, believe it or not, on planetary defense. I couldn't believe this when I came to the office 2 years ago, but it's very, very valuable. You will have heard of the asteroid YR 2024, which had a probability of impacting the Earth of more than 1% earlier this year. It was the first time that the international mechanism established through IWAN and Same Page, as we call them, was triggered. A notification was sent to the SG, and all UN member states were informed of this eventuality. Fundamental that UNOOSA convenes this and is secretariat to this. So many countries do not have the resources and the capabilities to conduct these activities. Through UNOOSA, we democratize access to this information and the wealth of knowledge that works on this, and that's important. 2029 has been declared by the General Assembly last year as the International Year of Asteroid Warning and Planetary Defense, because we know that on Friday the 13th of April 2029, they probably know the time, I don't, but asteroid Apophis will have a close flyby to Earth. We will even be able to see it with the naked eye, clouds permitting. We are, of course, fundamentally a capacity builder. We're not just a convener and a secretariat. We build capacity with member states. Our best showcase, if I may, is Kenya. Kenya won the COPUOS competition to launch its very first satellite from the International Space Station with UNOOSA. This is facilitated by JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency. It was the catalyst for them to create their own space agency. And after that, they realized, actually, we also have international obligations. So they registered their object with UNOOSA. And in 2021, UNOOSA awarded Egypt, Kenya, and Uganda an opportunity to jointly develop a remote sensing camera. So we have multiple competitions that facilitate access to space for all. And these are examples of those. Kenya then finalized its first national space law after UNOOSA held a technical advisory mission in Kenya, and in 2023 they developed and deployed their own national second satellite independently. So I think we see the triggering of a space economy in this country, a great boost for STEM education in the country, and we have supported, in fact, 5 countries, meanwhile, who've deployed their very first satellites: Guatemala, Mauritius, Moldova, Kenya, and Nepal as well. We also, through this program, enable students conduct experiments in microgravity and hypergravity, all through different partnerships that we have, including with the private sector. And this contributes to so many of the Sustainable Development Goals. I mentioned SPIDER. This is democratizing access to satellite imagery and data. It is supporting the building of resilience, disaster preparedness, the ability to respond to emergencies. And we conduct technical advisory missions with countries on that. We've delivered more than 40 of those missions so far and helped more than 50 countries, enabling them to trigger the international disaster on charters and space, and making them authorized users of that charter. We promote space for women. This was triggered by Korea. Korea came to us, bizarrely enough, and said, we don't have enough women in our space sector. We want to partner with UNOOSA. Can you help us on this? We did a study in Korea of how many women were in the space sector. By working with us proactively, they tripled the number of women in the space sector, and then said, can we do a global study? So we published last year a landmark study on gender equality in the space sector, and also with the support of Canada, a gender mainstreaming toolkit with practical tools on how to increase the number of women in the space sector. Last year we took our expert meeting to Nairobi in Kenya. For me it was very important not to see only the first world problem, but also to see at grassroots level, how are we educating girls and young children who are marginalized in society. So this year we will be producing a toolkit on educating marginalized communities. I'm going to close with another video, our latest contribution for emerging countries, for developing states. It's not just about basic services, it's also about enabling the latest tools and technologies to come to those who need them the most. So here we go with a video.
Climate change is affecting all of us. But what if we could see into the future and predict the impacts of disasters rising sea levels, flooding, and eroding coastlines. This could help us prepare for any eventuality before it happens to protect homes and save lives. Now, with a little help from space, artificial intelligence is being used with Earth observation imagery and innovative partnerships to create digital twins of entire cities and countries. This can help governments plan smarter, act faster, and build stronger to preserve life and land in the future. Only a few years ago, this would have taken dozens of man-hours and costly aerial surveillance flights. Now it can be done in a fraction of the time and at a fraction of the cost. Let's take Ghana as an example. The UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOOSA, has worked in close collaboration with the Commonwealth, Space Data Inc., Maxa Technologies, and the Universities of Bonn and Tokyo to make a digital twin of Accra, Ghana's capital. This helps us understand the impact of flooding at any time between a 1 meter to a 10-meter water level rise. This means we can pinpoint which streets and buildings are most at risk, to build flood walls and coastal defenses, to adapt national disaster management strategies, and to assist emergency services. UNOOSA brings advanced space tools down to earth to those who need them most, turning science into safety for vulnerable communities. Together, and in partnership with UNOOSA, we can scale solutions, tackle national challenges, and build a more resilient future for all.
So with this presentation, I hope to have given you a sense of what that office in charge of space sitting in Vienna does. And I hope you appreciate a little bit more what it means to work on the peaceful uses of outer space and the work that we do in Vienna. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.